Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, June 9th, also known as Game 2 Day. Shigan Idawu is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record as Mayor Wu's economic chief. He is guiding Boston through an ever-changing post-pandemic landscape. New numbers are positive, but challenges are many. So let's talk about it. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Sharman Zaketti. It's great to have you with us this morning, and with us, Shigan Idawu. He is Boston's Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. He is a lifelong resident of Boston. Big-time Celtic fan, by the way?
Big time. I
Ready
got
for
my
Game
socks
2?
on.
All right, good. Before joining Mayor Michelle Wu's administration, he served as the president and CEO of the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts. He also has served as VP of the Boston chapter of the NAACP. He holds a BA in history from Morehouse College in Atlanta. It's great to see you as always.
Thanks for having me back.
Great to see you.
Well, the city getting some good economic news recently. 10,000 jobs gained in 2023. But the mayor and the city council are still pushing ahead with a petition to allow an increase in the commercial tax rate. Do you think there are two different messages here being sent about the economy?
I don't think so at all, and I appreciate that question. The purpose of our releasing the State of the Economy report was to show it's not the apocalypse on the horizon here for the city of Boston. Actually, because of the work that our residents have been doing, our business community, we have one of the strongest recoveries post-pandemic. And not just 10,000 jobs. We're the safest city in the country. Consumer spending is going up.
If it's going so well, why push the commercial tax rate?
Well, this all said, we also believe in preparing for the future. So at the same time that jobs are going up, as you stated, we also want to be prepared in the case that commercial values drop. We don't know what's going to happen, but what we don't want to have happen is next year values drop and then taxes go up on our residents. So the policy the mayor has put forward is actually a way to protect residents. And really, these are the employees of the employers who are here who are making these decisions about whether or not they stay in the buildings they're in right now.
And so do you think this makes pitching for new business difficult?
Oh, no, not at all.
How are you going to attract new businesses knowing that this is potentially on the horizon?
Not at all. So what we know is that employers care what their employees think. Employees are the ones who are driving the decisions right now of companies. They want to be in a place that's safe. They want to be in a place that schools are doing well. They want to be in a place where the neighborhoods are vibrant and that they can walk around and support the small businesses. Everything we've done is to make sure that that's true when people get here. Our Space Grant program, connecting entrepreneurs with different spaces across the city, that's giving them tons of money to make sure that they're successful. Our support for small businesses, all the things that we're doing to make our neighborhoods come alive. That is what employees are looking for. Lego decides to come here because of the work that the mayor has been doing to make this a city that employees want to be. And we know that many others that are making their decisions are going to choose Boston because of the policies that we've enacted so far.
Next item we want to talk about are the liquor licenses, because on Beacon Hill, the House passed a bill that added 205 liquor licenses in Boston. And I know a larger number was hoped for, but it was closer to that. It does still, A, need Senate approval, and B, it'll arrive to the governor's desk, and what will she do with it? So those licenses would go to the areas of the city that have been long underserved. We're talking about Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, East Boston. How much, can it be a game changer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
absolutely.
Even a 10 or 20% bump in your revenue because of this liquor license is the difference between paying your rent on time, paying your employees more wages, expanding the capacity of your restaurant. All of that is critical to the survival of our small businesses. So I have to give credit to Councilor Worrell, Representative Worrell, and Senator Miranda, who have really been guiding this through. This is going to be a game changer for all of our neighborhoods.
But it almost begs the question, why are we talking about it in 2024? Why hasn't it already been done in place if it is a game changer?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there is our sentiments of how the legislature, could work with different cities and towns in terms of their ability to raise the cap on liquor licenses that they give out. But we are grateful that the legislature has been moving this bill forward pretty quickly to make sure that our entrepreneurs are getting all the resources that they need.
What kind of establishments would you like to see?
Well, I'd love to see more restaurants. I mean, my mom is in Mattapan. There is no sit-down restaurant in Mattapan, and one of the reasons for that is that there are very few liquor licenses available for someone to utilize.
So only restaurants, or any other businesses?
Well, according to the bill, in order to have the liquor license, you have to serve food as well. So, we'll see lots of restaurants pop up, but there are some licenses in there for cultural institutions, and so being able to go to the local theater with the liquor license will be important as well.
But they're expensive. So how do you keep the cost from becoming a barrier?
Well, so that's one of the things taken into the consideration for this bill. So these licenses have no value. They'll come back to the city when, if the business closes, and we'll be able to give it back out to a new entrepreneur. And so this is a way to make sure that someone does not have to pay $600,000 for a license, but will still have a similar type of license to be able to sell to their customers and increase their profits.
All right, the post-pandemic economy, it continues to present a lot of challenges for the city. Remote, hybrid work trends, they have all sort of decreased demand for office space. You've seen that. What is the city doing to fill that spot, to fill those spaces?
I think it's a great question. I'm thinking of your previous question as well. We're grateful to the House for passing the bond bill, the housing bond bill, which includes a lot of money for office to residential conversion. This is going to support what Mayor Wu already started last year for a pilot program. We've already seen 10 applications come through for 300 or so units. We know that once we show the success of this program, many, many more developers are going to take advantage of this opportunity. Again, I'll highlight our space program.
Let me ask you something about that, because
Sure.
in commercial business, you think about office space in downtown Boston. I mean, what kind of places are these places that a family can afford to live in?
Well, I mean, I think with what we see right now, the applications in front of us provide for both types. Units that families could live in, but also single individuals as well. So again, we're experimenting with what we could do.
Affordable places?
Some affordable and some market rate. But I think anything we can do to relieve the pressure on our neighborhoods is going to be important.
But is the MBTA part of relieving that pressure?
Absolutely. I mean, the transportation is everything's
Well, how do
fighting
you
for
sell
number one
that
right
to
now.
businesses? You know what I mean? Because it's in the news every other day.
Well, I'll just say on the mayor's side, it was really important that we got a seat on the board. So, as the largest economic driver, as the capital city of Massachusetts, of the region, we now have a seat on the board to help make decisions on the investments that we make in the T. But it's not just trains and buses, which I will say the mayor has helped to make several lines free for a lot of residents to get to and from.
Right.
The efforts we're making to put bus lanes in certain parts of the city to make it easier and quicker to travel to and from where you got to go, but also what the mayor's doing to create new forms of travel. So, for a long time, if you ride a bike, you're
Let's
hitting
talk about
traffic.
bike
Yeah, I
lanes.
know. I knew you were going to bring it up.
Let's talk about that correlation,
love to.
bike lane
Yeah.
and businesses.
Yeah.
The other day, every day, frequently I drive right down Beacon Street, and you drive down Beacon Street, and right here are the parked cars, and over here's the bike lane. So a bike lane will soon run on one side of Boylston from Mass Ave to Arlington Street. The other will have a dedicated bus lane. Some businesses say the squeeze is hurting them. What do you say?
Everything that this administration has been doing is to help prepare for the future. And so there are many people who ride bicycles right now who are facing a dangerous circumstance when they're trying to navigate through traffic. And so anything we can do to protect bikers is important, as well as pedestrians. And so, it's important for the mayor that as we are thinking of a livable city, a 15-minute city, that we're doing everything we can to make that possible.
I have to ask, because I'm in the city almost every day, and we do see a lot of traffic and not a lot of traffic inside the bike lanes, not a lot of bicyclists. And just a couple of days ago, I saw an ambulance who had to go down the bike lane to head toward MGH because just couldn't make it through on Cambridge Street. And so I have to ask, do you think some of these bike lanes should be rethought or revisited given the size of Boston streets?
So I think Chief Franklin Hodge, who's our chief of streets, and his team have been taking every single piece of feedback into consideration as they develop their plans for the redevelopment of our streets. At the end of the day, the goal is to make sure that everyone is safe. Pedestrians, bikers, folks
and
who are
that
driving their
businesses
cars.
are able to still...
Absolutely. All of this is taken into consideration. And so what we're not doing is just doing a thing and then letting whatever happen. We are providing also resources to make sure that we're driving business to these businesses. But bikers are also supporting these businesses as well. I think of West Roxbury, right, which was also another contentious matter.
Are you seeing more bicyclists? What are you hearing from businesses?
So there's two things. One is, if we remember December of 22, a kindergartner was struck by a car because there was nothing but speeding up and down Center Street. we've seen as a result of the transformation, 75% decrease in folks speeding down the street. So number one, people are safe, right? And so whether you're trying to get to school, get to work, or support a business, now you're not worried about whether or not you're going to get mowed down by a car. The other thing, though, is that yes, especially in a neighborhood, there are a lot of folks who would prefer to ride a bicycle, but a lot of people decide not to because there is no connective tissue through the city to get from point A to point B. I live in Hyde Park. I would not be able to ride my bike from Hyde Park Ave to City Hall every day right now, but so long as we're making these investments to be able to get from point A to point B, one day I will be.
You would like to do that?
Weather
permitting.
I would love to not have to pay the car note and
There
the
you go.
insurance.
Very good.
What are you
Shugana.
hearing from businesses, though? Are they pushing back on you at all?
Well, some businesses, do push back when it's first introduced. But again, this is the whole part of the deliberative process and engaging with business owners and all stakeholders to make sure it works for them.
Shugana Ida was in the chair. We're on the record. Stay with us.